Coming up, a third suspect involved in a deadly officer-involved shooting in Fargo is now in custody. A change in leadership for the Fargo School Board. And bad scores for some area businesses when it comes to serving alcohol to minors. Hello and welcome to the Nightly Review. I'm Tom Tucker. We start things off with a look at tonight's headlines. Then a one-on-one conversation focused on the latest efforts to provide body-worn cameras for police officers in the city of West Fargo. Chief Dennis Otterness will talk about why he wants the cameras and when he thinks they'll be deployed in the city. But first tonight, Fargo police have arrested a man who ran from an officer-involved shooting last Friday. Derek Stanley was arrested without incident. Police say he was one of 3 men who were in a van inside a garage at a Fargo apartment complex. When officers approached the van, court documents indicate the van traveled toward officers. Officer Adam O'Brien, an 11-year veteran, fired his gun at the van and hit the driver, 28-year-old Shane Netterville, who later died. Cody, Dunn, and Stanley ran away from the scene. Dunn was arrested that same day for refusal to halt and possession of methamphetamine. The Fargo School Board has new leadership. At Tuesday night's meeting, board members appointed Dr. Tracy Newman as the new president. Newman also serves as a pediatrician for Sanford Health and as health officer for Fargo Cass Public Health. She takes the reins from Rebecca Knutson, who was not reelected on June 14th. Also, Robin Nelson, despite being reelected, will not continue serving as vice president of the board. Members appointed Seth Holden to fill that position. The search continues for an 18-year-old who left her family campground at Grand Forks Air Force Base and has not been seen since. The teen is a military dependent who left the campground at the Air Force Base late Monday night or early Tuesday morning. Haley Sullivan is Caucasian, 5 feet 2 inches tall, and has brown hair. She wears glasses and has special needs. Anyone who might have information on her whereabouts is asked to contact police. An official with Fargo Cass Public Health says out of 11 alcohol-serving businesses checked in the county, only 4 passed their alcohol compliance checks on July 7th. This includes 4 businesses in Castleton and single businesses in the communities of Chaffee, Argusville, and Buffalo. Fargo Cass Public Health says they encourage business owners to check their city ordinances and state laws and to ensure that new employees are receiving proper training. The city of Moorhead is receiving a grant from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to perform a study related to what they call extreme weather events similar to heavy rainstorms in 2000.
Particularly, I'm excited about the community engagement that is going to occur within this grant. We have a city who is very involved and very vocal about climate resiliency and sustainability, and they will want their voices to be heard. And I'm glad that this grant provides that opportunity to gather those voices and gather that information.
Mayor Shelley Carlson says the city received a $100,000 grant, with the majority of the funds being used for a 3-pronged study. The study would assess buildings and roads in the city to see which ones are most at risk when it comes to flooding and possible failure. An anonymous phone call has led to 700 animals being seized by the Rolette County Sheriff's Office. We're told authorities served a warrant at a home on June 1st where they found a large number of cattle with insufficient amounts of food, as well as numerous dead cattle on the property. About 500 cattle were seized at that time. And then on June 23rd, after the situation was not improving, another 200 livestock were taken. Third-party individuals are now caring for the animals, which will be sold. More than 160 boaters in North Dakota were sighted during the July 4th holiday weekend. North Dakota Game and Fish officers participated in the nationwide program aimed at educating people on the dangers of boating under the influence. Out of 4,000 boaters, 166 were issued citations, including 7 violations for boating under the influence. 2 North Dakota cities are near the top of the list when it comes to best places to rent in the country. Wallet Hub has released its 2022 rankings, and both Bismarck and Fargo come inside the top 12. The study compared more than 180 cities across the country on 22 key metrics, including rental attractiveness and quality of life. Bismarck came in 4th, while Fargo finished 12th overall. The best city to rent, Columbia, Maryland. The worst, Detroit, Michigan. A student at Fargo South is in a competition to have her drawing featured on the Google homepage. 16-year-old Denise Zhang won the North Dakota Doodle of Google contest and now hopes to be a top 5 finalist. The voting on the doodles ended at midnight. The artwork for the national winner will be displayed on google.com for one day, and the winner will receive a $30,000 college scholarship along with a $50,000 technology package for their school. The 5 national finalists will be announced on July 28th. And Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band are bringing their international tour to the Twin Cities. The iconic rock band announced dates for their 2023 U.S. tour. The Rock and Roll Hall of Famers will perform at St. Paul's Xcel Energy Center on March 5th. This will mark Springsteen's first North American tour since 2016. Well, thanks for choosing the Nightly Review as your source for news and information on all that is happening in the FM Metro. If you haven't done so already, please take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell button below to make sure you catch every episode. A picture-perfect day weather-wise across the Red River Valley. Hopefully you had a chance to get outside and enjoy it. Meteorologist Justin Storm is in the Skywatch Weather Center to tell us what we might see tomorrow.
Thanks, Tom. Weather throughout the rest of this evening looks very nice out there. We'll see temperatures in the 70s for the most part this evening with light wind out of the southeast around 5 to 10. Temperatures will bottom out in the lower to mid 60s throughout tonight with mostly clear skies. And we'll see that wind picking up just a bit on Thursday, around 10 to 20 miles per hour out of the southeast. It'll be partly cloudy through the afternoon with a high in the mid 80s. There will be a very slight chance for a couple isolated storms through late Thursday afternoon into early Thursday night, but then we'll see more sunshine on Friday. The humidity will be picking up with highs near 90 and light wind out of the east.
It could happen to you or someone you love. One moment, one diagnosis can change everything. Thankfully, there's a program that helps caring people uplift families through a crisis. Lend a Hand Up, raising financial help and hope through community benefits and online campaigns. A program that boosts generosity so gifts go further. Lend a Hand Up helps you help your neighbors. Learn more and give at lendahandup.org.
Welcome back to the Nightly Review. Tonight's focus for the one-on-one conversation is an update on efforts to bring body-worn cameras to officers at the West Fargo Police Department. Chief Dennis Otterness says he expects cameras will be deployed at the department by sometime early next year. He provided an update on efforts to secure funding.
Sure. So several weeks ago at one of the West Fargo City Commission meetings, I put a proposal together and asked for the City Commission's approval to move forward on a body-worn camera funding plan. And part of that is to look for some federal funding. The federal government released some matching grants to allow for agencies throughout the United States to compete for a limited number of dollars to be able to not only supplement current body-worn camera programs, but startup body-worn camera programs, and we would be in that group. So we've gotten permission from the City Commission to move forward on at least requesting funding from the federal government. We've gotten that application in, and so now we're just waiting to hear whether we're going to get funded for that or not, and that normally will come out in the fall.
The chief says at this point he's not sure if their application for federal funds will be successful.
There's going to be a lot of different agencies throughout the country competing for very limited dollars. So in terms of percentage, I don't know what our chances are, but regardless of whether we get the federal funding or not, I've asked the commission to look at funding, a body-worn camera program moving forward, regardless of whether we get the federal funding or not. And so we're hopeful that the commission will support that. We think it's vital for transparency in our community. An overwhelming number of our personnel, our police officers in West Fargo, favor a body-worn camera program. And so we're hopeful that the community and the commission will support that moving forward in 2023.
Chief Otterness talked about the number of cameras the department will need and gave an estimate on what it will cost.
So there's a couple different costs associated with the program. So we've got, right now we're authorized at 70 sworn officers. So we would get a camera for every officer that's a sworn position, from me right down to our patrol staff. And so the initial outlay for the equipment costs is we believe is going to be right around $225,000. That's for the initial startup of the program. But then there's some additional costs. There's personnel to manage that program. There's a lot of, as you can imagine, a lot of redaction and providing that video footage to both our city attorney's office and our state's attorney's office in terms of prosecutions. There's storage costs that go along with that, whether it's internal server storage within the city or whether it's cloud-based. And so there's a lot of different things, but we estimate the costs that I put together, I believe we're just north of $700,000 for the first 5 years. So there's the initial outlay of capital, obviously, to buy the equipment, and then there's ongoing expenses in terms of employees and storage again, and then equipment costs that will crop up, but not nearly as much as kind of the initial outlay for it.
The police department is not required to deploy cameras, but the chief talked about the reasons why he and others believe it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, there's no requirement that we move towards that. I just think it's in the climate that we're in right now, nationally, maybe not so much locally. We don't hear quite as much in this area as we do kind of on a national level, but I think it's really important. It's important for our staff. It's important for our officers. It's important for the city, and it's important for the community, right? To be able to answer questions when things happen, whether they be critical incidents in the community or other things, use of force incidents, things like that. The technology is there, and so I think it's a good move. It's best practice right now. Certainly, in 2022 and moving forward, that we equip our folks with those cameras.
I'd like to thank West Fargo Police Chief Dennis Otterness for joining me for tonight's one-on-one conversation. He says they'll find out sometime this fall whether their request for federal grant funding will be approved to help pay for the body-worn camera program. He says he'll continue to push for cameras regardless of whether they receive that federal funding. Well, that will do it for this Wednesday night, July 13th, 2022. I'm Tom Tucker. Thanks for watching the Nightly Review.